On a Monday morning, I had to take my car to the dealership to get it serviced. I recall sitting in the waiting room checking email when I got a call from my friend Danny. As soon as I saw his name on the phone screen, my mind retreated to the time I was a Verizon Wireless employee. Back in 2011, I found myself working inside a shopping mall near Los Angeles. At this point, I had worked for the company for over 5 years. Several of my co-workers, including upper management, had pushed me into becoming an assistant manager. I thought about it for a while, seriously considering it. Yet, I made a point at observing my assistant managers and store managers, and they all became yes people to district and corporate management. This time around, I allowed my coworker Danny to take the golden opportunity of becoming one of them. Danny was a heavy-set guy with slick black hair and glasses. He always wore this toothy grin no matter what. He would call Papa at any coworker he felt comfortable with. He always had a way of talking to customers and convincing them to take whatever he was offering, most of the time. One day, I witnessed this elderly lady come in to pay her wireless bill. "Watch me slam her on a home phone service," Danny had said to himself while lumbering towards her. While not exactly listening to the conversation, Danny would exaggerately nod to the old lady customer while pointing at the wall that had the home phone service device. When he semi-sprinted to his point of sale station, I knew he had another sale. As I passed behind him, I heard him mention how the battery-run home phone service is also mobile, and that in an emergency, she could take it outside to her house to make calls. And for good measure, he used her old phone as a prepaid service as another backup device in case the battery from the home phone service ran out while having it away from her house. About a week later, while standing in the front of the store, looking past the Forever 21 sales floor across the way, the district manager, Sam Figueroa, entered to begin training Danny. He greeted me before walking towards him. He said, "I hope to train you next in the near future." I nodded while half grinning. And no sooner was Danny with a notepad and pen in hand, nodding exaggeratedly while occasionally pointing at the wall when Sam explained how to design the accessory wall for refreshes. Years later, Danny and I still keep in touch. I picked up his call and whispered to him that this was not a good time to talk. He blurted out, "Why was that guy shocked and horrified?" I rolled my eyes and repeated that I cannot talk, and for him to text me instead. Danny merely yelled out, "Sandusky!" right before hanging up on him. I swear, I felt there was something about him in his need for entertaining distraction. A real-life version of Jerry Seinfeld. I always made a point of ribbing him for being so overly attentive with his customers, as well as with Sam before he became an assistant manager. He would always respond with, "I had to do what I had to do, Papa," while snickering. I just wanted to move up the Verizon ladder. Now working for Time Warner as a business consultant, I just text him to make sure I accurately identify his current role at the cable company. And he immediately replied with, "Big Vic, caught lying down by Sam Figueroa." That was reference to the time Danny worked at a small kiosk with a coworker we both knew. I have asked him to tell me the story so many times that I feel as if I was there to witness the whole incident. According to him, it was a slow day in the mall, and both he and Victor were standing on the opposite side of the kiosk hoping to have someone to talk to. Victor was over 6 feet tall, glasses, and was extremely overweight. That is why Danny would always call him Big Vic. Irritated and fatigued, Victor decided to briefly kneel on the carpeted floor and lean on the cabinet while laying an arm on the surfaces near the display phones. Not 5 minutes later, Sam Figueroa came in strolling from the west wing. Danny first saw him and nudged Victor to get up. Yet he casually reiterated how tired he was. In no time, Sam reached the kiosk on Victor's side, and when both made eye contact, Danny would always swear that he looked like a deer in front of an incoming vehicle with its headlights beaming. Of course, Danny could not stop laughing when Sam finally sent him on a break away from the kiosk. Upon coming back after 10 minutes, Victor was standing talking to a customer with Sam watching him from a distance. Victor never kneeled on the floor again after that. After sharing a hearty laugh together over the phone, there was a small pause. And another episode came rushing into mind. Spicy chicken sandwich, I immediately blurted out. Danny laughed again. Oh, no. My boy, I was dying that day. After getting tired of the mall food, I started bringing food from home. One day, I brought a dish that had white rice and beef stew, compliments of my mom, who made it the day before. Opening that day at 8:30 a.m., I was already famished by 11:45. With the floor empty, except for Danny and 4 sales reps in the front, I snuck to the back and placed my dish in a microwave and started heating it up. Just as I was about to go to the front to ask Danny to take my lunch, he rushed in and informed me that a customer of mine had returned and asked for me. I looked through the glass opening on the door and it was a 4-line new account for a family from AT&T. I adjusted my tie and went out to the floor. Over an hour passed by and the family left with 4 brand new phones along with a mobile hotspot. After receiving a high five from Danny, I announced I would be going for a well-deserved lunch, which was already waiting for me in the microwave. Then I noticed his eyes dart back and forth and smiled nervously. Danny furtively walked away without saying a word. I went to the break room and pressed 2 on the microwave to reheat my food. After hearing the magical beeps, I took out my dish and sat down. I opened the container and found hot steaming patches of white rice. The beef stew that would always bring back great memories as a kid eating it was nowhere to be found. I was pissed. I flew out to the sales floor and asked everyone about my missing lunch. Of course, everyone denied it, including Danny. Despite solemnly denying it, I knew it was him. After all, he was a damn good salesperson. From that day, the food bandit was on the loose. On occasion, someone's food will go missing. I was determined to prove it was Danny. Another assistant manager, Steven, recently came back from a weekend in Vegas. He happened to stop by a place called Pepper Palace there. Steven opened his locker and produced a small bottle with a red liquid, ghost pepper sauce. Except this bottle did not have a cap or regular dispenser of any kind. This smallish bottle had a dropper. I love hot sauces of any kind, and the curiosity was killing me. Apparently, Steven read my mind and offered to buy me lunch if he were to drop 1 spot of the sauce on my tongue. After much deliberation, I agreed. I sat down, and a smirking Steven stood next to me with the dropper in hand. As soon as I opened my mouth, he slowly placed the dropper above me and suddenly felt the fire that started on the tip of my tongue and soon spread all over my face. Steven just laughed and laughed at the sight of me running around the break room, screaming for water. I finally ended up going to the restroom where I gulped so much water from the sink. And yet, the water that passed through my mouth only made the fiery feeling get worse. With water splashed over my face and neck, I had no choice but to wait for the discomfort to subside. In between Steven's laughs and the blinding pain, an idea emerged from within. Eventually, after recovering, I asked Steven to pay up with some gourmet Mediterranean food and a chicken sandwich from McDonald's. When he came back with the food, and after I hit my own meal, I decided to open the chicken sandwich and placed it in the center of the table. I took off the top bun and placed 3 or 4 red drops on the chicken patty. I went ahead and placed the bun back on. Steven was ecstatic at my devious plan that we both hid inside the inventory room and waited for Danny to show up. A couple of minutes later, he lumbered over and was about to enter the restroom when the sandwich caught his attention. He casually walked over to the table and looked around. His glasses gleamed as he excitedly picked up the sandwich and took 2 quick bites. What happened next is something Steven and I will never forget. After a few seconds of chewing ferociously, he paused and let out a sort of moan. We immediately opened the door while both laughing. Danny was covering his mouth while he frantically searched for something to drink. He too went inside the restroom and roared while kissing the faucet head, attempting to drink as much water as possible. With his glasses all fogged up, Danny solemnly swore never to eat anyone's food again. We were both laughing hard at this point that I had to go outside the waiting room to catch my breath. Danny finally sighed. Ah, Papa, those were the days. Every time I want to remember something that happened in Verizon, I reach out to you. No matter how much time passes, it feels like it just took place when you tell the story. I told him that we were fortunate to have such a great time with the company while making decent money. We both left the company on our own terms, I told him. Not like Big Vic, my boy, he chimed in. Vic had the distinction of getting terminated on his day off while taking his family to Disneyland. At the time, the store location in Pico Rivera housed the employees with write-ups for lack of performance, and Vic was working there. The store manager there asked him to come briefly to the store that day. Vic refused and instead got the call later that day. Still, he knew that to be transferred to the Pico store meant that he was not selling, and Vic stopped caring about sales long ago by then. To this day, Danny is still convinced that he was really laid off due to him once upon a time being caught lying down on the job.